Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. I'm SocietySucks and today I'm checking out We found a loophole to survive the end of the universe by Kurzgesagt. I'm not sure what this loophole could be, but let's see.
Can we survive the heat death of the universe? One day, the last star will die. Galaxies will dissolve.
Obviously.
And black holes will evaporate.
That's inevitable.
The cosmos will become a forever expanding, empty void where nothing happens. Forever. A place without life, purpose, or meaning. Lame and depressing.
Yeah, that's
But
just sad to think about.
There might be a loophole in the laws of physics for a future civilization to survive the death of everything and go on having fun and internet arguments for Googles of years, maybe even forever. To explain how this works, we need to go through a few steps, so strap in if you want consciousness to live forever. How to outlast the stars.
Consciousness, so
Let's
not
travel
necessarily
100 trillion years
humanity.
into the future, when the last stars are about to die and the cosmos.
Theoretically, if we're talking about consciousness surviving forever, then if we were somehow able to transfer our minds, our consciousness, into a robot, humanity could die out, but the human consciousness would still survive. You know what I mean?
Starts turning dark forever. Here in this dying universe, we find the Noxans, the last civilization still alive. Compared to them, we're cave dwellers. They've solved physics and can do things we can only dream of. Still, the same rules of reality apply to them as to us. The Noxans like being alive and don't want to vanish with the last stars. So, they're enacting the plan to keep consciousness around forever. The first issue is energy. If you want to keep a civilization running, you need a lot of it. But actually, not that much in cosmic terms. With 5 hours of the full energy emitted by the sun, we could power present-day humanity for about 10 billion years. So
I mean, it is the
harvest
sun.
the last stars and build a gigantic complex of batteries around their home star. In principle, this energy could keep them alive for a few 100 trillion years, a long time, but not even close to forever.
Yeah.
So now the hard part of the plan begins. The Noxans need to change.
And if eventually every star dies out, their energy they store will also run out eventually, and then they'll have no stars left to replace that energy. So living forever, not possible in this scenario.
Change the nature of life itself. Thoughts cold as ice. Being alive means doing things, eating, playing video games, and very importantly, thinking. And each of those things costs energy. But how much energy?
Well, not necessarily. There's a difference between being alive and living. Being alive is just, being alive. You eat enough to survive, you sleep enough to survive, that's pretty much it. Living is doing extra activities, things that are not necessary for survival. Like, for example, watching YouTube videos. You don't need those to stay alive. This is just an extra activity that you do for fun. That's called living. So to just simply keep a species alive, you don't need as much energy as you need for them to live and thrive.
There's an idea from a famous paper we'll mercilessly simplify and call Dyson's cold thoughts. In a nutshell, the idea is that the lower your temperature, the less energy it takes to do something. Your brain runs at a temperature of 310 degrees above absolute zero. Zero is the temperature where nothing
Celsius.
can happen anymore. At 310 degrees, your brain needs 20 joules of energy to think a simple thought that takes 1 second to think, like, I should wear a funny hat. If your brain worked at colder temperatures, say 155 Kelvin instead of 310, a few things would change. First of all, you'd think at half the speed, and the same thought would now take 2 seconds. But in return, the energy you'd need to think the thought now halves from 20 joules to only 10. If Dyson's cold thoughts are correct, then the colder you go, the less energy you need to think a thought. At 1/10 your current temperature, the same thought would take 10 seconds, but only require 2 joules. And this has wild implications, because it means that we actually might be able to play this game forever. How could this work in reality? Cooling down a living organism isn't easy. If we put you in a fridge, you'll die from hypothermia. The reality...
You can use less energy this way, but it takes you longer to think. You're still using the same energy for the same amount of thinking, I don't know how to properly word this.
Is that this plan will be impossible to do with flesh and blood, so the Noxans have to take a huge step. Before we cool anything down, consider this. Maybe the real trick is stepping back and seeing ideas from different perspectives. Because even with more efficient modern missions, come to go towards our channel, they have to leave biology behind and transfer their minds into some kind of artificial brain. Or even better, become completely virtual minds and build a digital world as good or better than the real one. This is getting pretty sci-fi, so to be fair, we don't know how to build such brains or computers. But remember, we are 100 trillion years in the future, the Noxans are desperate, and the laws of physics should allow this. So now we have a pretty big battery with a huge but finite amount of energy, and a lot of brains or a computer that can cool down. Okay, this is great and all, but how do you...
To be fair, you would need to do this to be able to survive forever, because a biological body will eventually reach its breaking point, and you'll die. But if you transfer your consciousness to a mechanical being, that can be repaired and sustained much longer than a physical body that's made out of flesh and blood.
Stay around with limited energy forever. Well, this is at the core of the plan. Each time the Noxans get colder, they need less energy to stay alive. Sure, they'll be slower, but this isn't relevant to them. So from the Noxans' perspective, as long as they can keep getting colder fast enough, their battery's energy is growing proportionally and could keep them alive forever. Let's see how their plan unfolds. Cooling down.
This only takes into account surviving as long as possible. But really, is it worth living longer if you're slower? If everything you think and do is slower? Is it really worth surviving longer then? I don't think so.
Last star in the universe goes out and the universe turns dark forever, the Noxans activate their batteries and start cooling down their brains. The way they do it is extremely simple. How do you cool down a light bulb? Well, you unplug it so it can radiate away its heat. So the Noxans switch off their brains and start to hibernate. They enter a state with no activity, thoughts, or even dreams, and let their bodies radiate heat away to cool down a bit. When they activate again after some time, they're now colder than before. They think slower, and each thought uses up less energy from their battery. They enter into a new cycle of cosmic days and cosmic nights. During the days, they're alive and awake, doing all the stuff they want to do, hanging out with friends, thinking about things, eating virtual cheeseburgers, simulating universes, whatever Type 3 civilizations think fun is in the future. And during the night, they're switched off, lost in dreamless non-existence, not even noticing anything isn't happening while cooling down their brains even more. At the beginning, the nights will be very short and the days extremely long. A day can last 1,000,000 years, while night is only a few hours. But warm things shed heat much faster than cold ones. Cooling from 300 to 299 degrees takes much less time than going from 100 to 99. So, as the Noxan brains become colder, the nights will have to grow longer and longer. So, how long could they actually do this? And how is this a way to live forever? How long could the Noxans actually do this? The reason Dyson's cold thoughts are so incredibly powerful is how incredibly they
eventually
scale.
they would run out of energy,
As
though.
pass in the dying universe, the Noxans keep cooling down and waking up. After 100 trillion years of this cycle, their temperature has only dropped to 230 degrees above absolute zero. A simple thought now takes 1.3 seconds instead of 1. Each cosmic night is now 400,000 years long. But even accounting for their slower speeds and long hibernations, the Noxans have experienced the equivalent of 76 trillion years of life. Over 5,000 times the age of the current universe. This is frankly just an unsettling idea. What is way scarier than being dead? Being alive forever? So we need to detach ourselves a little bit. We simply have no concept how conscious beings would deal with the opportunity to actually live that long. Maybe our Noxans delete their memories regularly, maybe they create new worlds and new life, maybe at some point they decide to sleep forever. Maybe they decide, just activate their pleasure centers and experience perfect bliss forever. As time keeps passing and the Noxans keep going through their cycle of day and night and cooling down, the universe keeps dying.
This is obviously also assuming that the technology they're using doesn't just eventually break down over time, which very well could happen if we're talking about trillions of years. Although this is also an advanced civilization, so maybe they found materials that just last forever somehow.
To quadrillions of years, the corpses of former stars, white dwarfs, turn yellow, then orange, then red, then black. Trillions of years later, all galaxies have dissolved like dandelions. Decillions of years later, the first black holes evaporate in bursts of light like sad fireworks. And the Noxons, they're still around, at a chilling 10 quintillionths degree above zero. They've become so slow that a simple thought takes a trillion years. They spend 99.99999999999
just unending nines.
997% of the time hibernating.
Oh, there was a
But
7.
for them, nothing's changed. Their conscious experience is just as fluid and vibrant as on the first day. From the outside, they live in slow motion. As they get colder and colder, their thoughts got slower and slower. But if you and the world around you slow down at the same pace, you don't notice anything. Your conversations, thoughts, adventures, and experiences feel exactly the same as before. And while the cosmic nights are now a quarter decillion years long, it doesn't matter to them, because during the night, the Noxons don't experience anything.
Yeah.
So no matter how long the nights are, they pass in an instant. The Noxons experience a perfectly
It's like when you go
fluid
to sleep.
existence.
You go to
Only
sleep,
that with each night, they use
sometime
up even
later,
less
you wake
energy
up
than
like no
before.
time passed.
At this point, they've lived, felt, and experienced the equivalent of 4,000 trillion years. Their battery has only a tiny fraction of its original charge, but the Noxons now need so little energy that it seems larger than ever before. True eternity has just begun. Or has it?
It's
Can
not
the
going to be
Noxons actually
eternity
live
though.
forever? Whether
will
Dyson's
eventually
cold
run
thoughts
out.
can make you live forever depends on one thing. Can you keep cooling forever, or does the universe force you to hit a true limit? There are a few problems. Dark energy might eventually make the universe hit a temperature limit of 1/9,000,000th degrees above absolute zero. The Noxons will cool to that level after a googol years, but then they can't cool any further and their battery will begin to run out.
Exactly.
And after this much time, the universe will make going on impossible in other weird ways. Quantum noise might just destroy their brains. All matter may decay into iron, or proton decay may destroy all atoms. We don't know. Forever is a long time. But even if the Noxons don't get a true forever, if Dyson's cold thoughts work, then within these googol years,
It's about as
their
long as you
consciousness
possibly
would
could
experience
live.
the equivalent of 2 trillion years. This may all seem far-fetched
That number
and
is
hard to
incomprehensible.
imagine, but the amazing thing about it is that for all we know, the laws of physics don't forbid life to adapt even to a completely dead universe. And it would mean that life and consciousness aren't a brief accident in cosmic history, but the final chapter of existence itself, giving the universe meaning, purpose, and hope. Maybe forever.
Well, that was interesting. Obviously, none of this really matters because all of us are going to be dead within the next 80 years. Unless someone watching this video manages to live to over 100 years, which I highly doubt. Yeah, pretty much none of this matters for us because we're never going to see this anyway, so who cares? But yeah, it's a nice theory that technically you could live forever and survive the death of the universe. The only question at that point is, do you want to live that long? Do you want to live basically forever? I think most people would say no because eventually they would just get bored. Unless when you're living forever like this, you don't feel the effects of age. You don't feel the effects of time passing. So you don't even truly know how old you are. Me personally, if I could live forever, I would just do everything I could possibly think of. And at that point, once I'm finished with everything, I would just say, all right, that's enough. Nothing else left for me to do. Let's shut it down. Let's end it. But anyway, hope you enjoyed. If you did, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. If you want to see more reactions, check out this video right here. And with that, I'll see you in the next video.